take on another with the ones. There's only love, there's only us. New set of lungs.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, this is kind of fun. This is our first chat, and I'm really looking forward to it. I want you to kind of introduce, let's just let everyone know a little bit about each of us. And, like, I'm Lori.
Lori, are you kidding me?
I'm Lori.
Well, you're Lori.
That's okay.
Now.
I know I do that. It's okay. We exchange
Could
personalities.
you imagine?
sometimes.
Just like
Lauren,
our
is
first
this-
episode, just swap names, like just from the get-go. It's too confusing.
I was going to say, is
It's
this
okay.
the thing where I'm supposed to be able to tell if y'all swapped voices?
Oh, yeah. Man, I'm not good at accents. I don't know.
Well, I'm Lauren's aunt.
Yes. So I'm
And,
Lori's niece. Yeah.
Yeah. And we kind of have a generational difference.
Yep.
I'll say out loud, I'm 51.
What?
And how old are you now, Lauren?
Just turned 30.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we have your friend.
Nick.
Why don't you
This is
introduce
my
your
friend Nick, and we're music partners too. So,
I was a random hitchhiker they found and was gracious.
Yeah.
It was nice enough to pick up.
I'm like, do you happen to be a musician? No. So Nick and I met online through music. So we started working together and found out we have a lot in common about the things we're interested in, like I don't know, the spirituality and dreams and psychology and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. And Lori and I have talks like that too. And Lori asked me to do a podcast with her, and I was like, let's do it. And that was 5 days ago, you guys.
It was
The
definitely
things
not long
that
ago.
have
We
happened.
might be 6.
Yeah.
We might be 6
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole how this started was really we were just chatting and about being seen or
Yeah,
something.
being
It was one
seen,
of our
yeah.
really not super deep conversations,
Right.
but like
right.
we're just a couple of idiots talking about this
Right.
anyway. So
Right. And I was like, we should write a book someday. And you were like, wait. Let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
So,
let me record ourselves so I can hear ourselves
Yeah.
talk over and
Yeah.
over and over.
man, and it's great timing. You know, fell into place for all of us. So awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I just, we talked about this before, but it would be kind of cool to bring it up again. It's just, we were kind of at a place in our life where, I don't know, every time we talked, you'd be like, I'd be calling you with some sort of, aha moment.
Right.
And you'd be like, I just did that.
Right.
And, yeah. And one of those was like, well, you called me about the hero's journey.
Right. Yeah.
And that was so weird because I'm doing like this online program that I'm almost done with. It's been like almost 2 years now. So you and I have been chatting for over 2
that's
years
crazy.
now.
Yeah. Just calling
Yeah.
each other up with aha moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Well, when you messaged that to me, I was like, this is so weird because that was the very month that I started the hero's journey conversation on my online program.
So what is this?
It was like,
what do you mean
weird.
online program? What is this?
Well, I don't think I'm ready to say what it is, but it's just like a self-help
okay.
program that I've been doing for 2 years, almost 2 years. I'm done in just a couple of months. And
So there's like a graduation kind of thing? Like it's a...
well, I do get a
Okay,
certificate.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's graduation. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, everyone has a computer with a program that makes a certificate.
That's sweet.
Yeah. But anyways, that was just one of those times I was like, how in the world, that was a while ago. I think that was the hero's journey conversation was, gosh, probably, oh wait, was that just this summer or was it last
Man,
summer?
right? Okay, so the hero's journey. The hero's journey, I listened to it again. For anybody who's not familiar with the hero's journey, you should check it out on YouTube. It's like so cinematic and beautiful how he reads it. The one that I've listened to. Don't you guys think? It's so like inspirational the way it's said. So cool. And I think they're saying it as like how you listen, how they write a story. Like they're kind of saying this is how a hero, like the arc of his journey, but it really follows the journey of through a person, and it mirrors like life.
Yeah, and well, when I've heard it before,
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought it was something that was restricted to certain people or certain personalities or, really troubled people.
Really?
I just, when you talk about it spiritually, usually people kind of hold it in a place that's like, not everyone does it. But like what I've learned is, it could be a journey for anyone.
Right.
If they are willing to, deep
If
dive.
you see it like that too. Like if you connect with it, you connect with it, I think.
Yeah.
There's a couple. So the hero's journey is pretty much like the first step is like the call to adventure. And whatever that may be. And then it's really cool. There's they show it in a circle form. There's like 17 steps. Actually, they have different versions of it where it's in different amounts of steps, or the condensed or expanded version. But I saw this one where the upper third of the circle, it says like reality or the real world, and then or the known and unknown.
Right.
So that was kind of cool. That's a cool way to.
Well, see, I mean, it just kind of.
And then you circle back to the known.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, well, it kind of mirrors also, it mirrors certain people that have gone into, there's psychologists that are super famous that had to go through the same thing. And you kind of go into just kind of what it feels like. It kind of feels different at every phase, but what I just came out of, I'll just kind of speak for myself, was, going deep enough to where you can, when you come back out, you have the option to create a self, like a new self that's
right.
not based on, well, obviously, I don't think you can actually uncord yourself from everything, but really you become personally aware of yourself in a way that you can pick and choose now.
Right.
And try new things without shame.
Yeah. It's like
guess.
Maybe a way is like freeing yourself from things that you assumed were just the way you are, and didn't even think twice about.
Yeah, right. You didn't think twice. You didn't think at all.
Yeah.
And you just thought, like, for me, I'll just talk about, this thing that we're doing now. I said this before. If you would have asked me a year ago, I told you before, I was like, you kept coming up with all these ideas. I'm like, Lauren, even if you came up with the coolest idea, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Like, I had too many things, too many blocks in the way, which seems so weird now. Like, to be able to step in that person's, I kind of have to pretend to think that way again, because I don't think that way
So when
anymore.
you say blocks,
but
do you think that you see them in retrospect as fears? or was it just
I think the easy answer is to say it was fear, because it is fear. But like, if you break that down in yourself, for me, it was just a lot of not being seen, not being nurtured in just if I come up with something that I want to do, it really doesn't matter what it was. It just wasn't, nurtured. So you kind of create this self that is always kind of confused.
Confusion
It
is
can
a
be
good
like
one,
super. Yeah, what?
Confusion is a good word. You're kind of frozen when you're confused.
Exactly. It just puts the brakes on, right?
Confusion is like the most confusing thing. You can't get out of it. It's like, that's the best way I can say it. Like, you're frozen when you're confused.
Yeah, you're just frozen, and you're looking for, I'm looking to old people in my family, old people in my life that, that I used to go to try to find validation. And that just is not going to happen. You really get to a place on this hero's journey where it's like, okay, you're standing on your own 2 feet now.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible feeling. So I think I just love this conversation. I could have this chat every day, because if you look online anywhere, everyone's trying to figure out, how do I get myself to do something?
One thing that I saw is something like, what starts the hero's journey is a deep unrest or desire for things to be different than what they are, like wanting more, something's unsolved, or something is, but you don't really know what it is. And so then it kind of starts that journey. But it's kind of, I think we've said it before, but you don't even know it's happening really but now we can look back and kind of see. And I guess that's where we kind of met,
Yeah, we started talking when I was in therapy, basically. So, that was the first 3 months of us conversating, and I'm really I can't say this enough. Maybe I'll stop saying it. I'm just surprised you stuck it through, because it was so funny. So I showed one of my sisters our little paragraph on our YouTube, and she's just like reading it really slow. And she's like, Dark Night of the Soul. Oh, wait a second. Let me Google that, And I'm like, oh goodness, you have to Google Dark Night of the Soul. That means that, because that's what happens when you deep dive. You're just Googling, searching. You're doing a lot of weird shit, really.
Yeah. That's the only place to start, really. You're like, well, you just start, and then you start connecting dots. I don't know. I see it that way.
Which kind of people can.
And then some of the things that you've learned, like, they start grouping into things. And then you have an aha moment, and they group. And then you have, you dig a little deeper. And then another aha moment. And then you dig and dig and dig,
Yeah. My brother, your uncle, we talk all the time ever since I was just started this journey. And, we talk, he repeats it over and over. The poor guy, it's such a good conversation, but I never want to talk about it when he brings it up. But he always brings up, what does it take to get someone because it's kind of a lonely journey. And you just want someone, like, it's so lonely. You just want, you turn right to left. You're like, hey. And there's really no one around that's going through the same thing that you are.
What does it take someone to what? To what? Understand what you're going through, or what were you saying?
Well, like, he loves to bring up, like, what does it take to get someone to get on this journey? Like, what does it take to get on that path of waking up? Because most people will just block you out.
I don't think you get to pick people to come with you. Like, you can't make
No,
somebody
it's-
do it. Like,
Yeah, but don't you want that?
Yeah, that'd
like,
be-
I remember feeling that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course it's
I
impossible.
don't anymore. It is. Yeah, it's totally
It's totally impossible because I think that one thing that's really important about it is that it is lonely.
Yeah, it's a journey of self-introspection. I mean, we create it. It bubbles into this 3D world because it affects. We're bumping up against people where we want to change. And we're spreading our wings a little bit, and then what is it like that expand and contract conversation? Like in spirituality, they always say, you expand and you contract. So along the journey, you're pushing out, to freaking make room for something new. Right. And then you kind of retract again. Yeah.
And, it was hard for me. Like, I'm somebody who likes to, like, get things done. And, that, I mean, a lot of people are like that. They want to show their success and keep moving in the way that they thought that they were supposed to with their talents or goals or success, whatever earthly success looks like. So you think that that's what success looks like. And so when you start going into this journey, you realize there's so much time going by. And so sometimes you have the feeling like you're like, okay, I need to get, something, but moving and done. But you try to snap back, but you really can't go back to the way that you saw things before.
Oh my gosh, you just made me feel that sensation over
really,
again.
Yeah, and you can't go back.
Yeah, I mean, this last summer, I really want to kind of give a shout out, maybe not now, but Teresa Vargo is the one that helped me out. I mean, I went to a mental health counselor, but then I also got help with Teresa Vargo, and she was just really helped me energetically. And that was one of the things I brought up with her. I'm like, you get into this, you kind of pull in and out of that. But like, I remember telling her, she's like, Laura, you have your whole life. And I'm all, I got to do it now. Like now.
Yeah.
But that's like, I mean, that could be either, she kind of was tapping into like, that was just kind of a 3D, with lack of better words, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to use a lot of different verbiage, but it's kind of like a 3D thing where she's like, but realistically, and I'm at that place now, but at that time I was all, I don't want to feel this way anymore.
Right.
let's get going.
And you don't, there's a lack of trust for yourself that you haven't solved that yet. So you're maybe thinking that you're wasting time because nobody can really see further than they are. Like,
right.
Your dog doesn't know that you know things that they don't. Like they see
right.
They see what they, can understand. So it's hard for us to see love as expansive as you get to when you're in the middle of it. You're like, what am I doing? Like, I just, time keeps going by and you can't see how it's going to come around. You just think it's going to keep going and going and you're just going to keep, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening and you haven't gained all the trust in yourself. It hasn't come to that yet. And there's nobody around you to validate what you're going through.
Yeah.
And we are so trained in this world, a lot of us, for validation being the love that we're looking for. And so and when you look for love anywhere else, like inside and deeper, you're like, wait, this doesn't feel like validation. But there's something still in there that you're, searching for.
There's so much that I want to comment on that, what you just said, but I kind of want to stick on the loving thing because back when, my brother was going through part of his deepest parts is, he would just kept asking the same question over and over. What is my lesson? What is my lesson? And I just kept saying, your lesson is love. And he would just skip over that. I remember that just cocky. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, I have to say I'm guilty of that too. Because before I was like, I was doing all these meditations and trying to do all these things to expand my heart. And it's weird when you really step onto the hero's journey and you go that deep, and then when you come out on the other end and your heart is bigger and you're loving, and I mean, it's something that you just cherish. It changes your awareness. But when you're going through it, it's like, okay,
love is the answer sounds so annoying if you're not like seeing it that way or feeling it that way. It's like just annoying. It's like, oh my gosh, right? It's the most annoying thing. The answer is love.
It isn't.
Oh,
and I don't know why.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That took you 4 years. Wow. Like, for really?
to find love.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the answer. Yeah. Must have really been studying.
Yeah. Where everyone else is like, okay, but how much money are you making and what kind of house did you get?
Oh.
And look at all the things. And to me, that's like that contrast. It's so amazing though, because once you get through it, I just never thought it would feel like this, because for me, I just thought it was just, perception.
Right.
Like if you just saw it different, you would see that the things that I lost, you just are stuck on materialistic things. But now, like when you expand your heart, it's like, wow, I've been through all that.
Yeah.
Like you have compassion for that perception in a way. You're like, wow, I remember thinking that way.
Fulfillment feels really different than looking at it from the outside.
Yeah. And I love that, and it's weird because I'll test you sometimes, like during our conversations, I'll be like, yeah, but what is, but you will verbalize it in a way that there's no way you could have verbalized it if you didn't feel it for yourself. Because you can go down.
Are you saying you personally test me to see if I really feel what you're feeling? Because it's like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just trying to be honest because maybe I don't know if I consciously, but I'm like, I want to know, like expand on that because I want to feel, like, are you really saying it because you went through it, or are you just saying it because that was the last book you read,
Oh, yeah. I mean, man, I am so impatient of a person. Like, I don't even read that much. I'll like, seriously, I'll like seriously take an inch and make a mile out of it in my head. Like, I'll like see something, a word, and I'll just like define it to myself before I even wonder what it means. Like I attach it to something else for some reason before, I don't know. That's just me.
When you're talking about words and, I know this is weird because I do bring it up quite a bit when we're talking, like how words feel, because I remember, I on this journey, I've had different situations, but when I went to India and I was on my way to see the shrine of Mother Teresa and her tomb, and I was like, just talking to to my guide and talking to my taxi driver and talking to, to the hotel clerk, anyone where I was saying, they'd be like, what are you doing today? And I mean, the level of reverence, and that was like, I put it on my blog. Like, I just felt the word reverence I mean, because both you and I have been in religions, and they throw that word around. I was just like, wow, this, just the way that person felt. I mean, I've talked about Mother Teresa here to, I was a Catholic. I mean, her name comes up quite a bit. But when you're over there, oh my gosh.
Right.
So to me, like, words come alive when you've experienced it, and you can empathize in a way.
Yeah. That kind of reminds,
the deeper.
That another word that comes to mind for me, it's the same as when I told you, like, I was like, Lori, like the word grace. Like, I was.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a good,
like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel this word. Like I was just like, isn't it like amazing? I'm like, oh, it's so cheesy, but isn't it amazing that we can like give that, like, you can forgive so freely anytime you want to, and it's like almost our responsibility, and it's within our power, and it's so it's so powerful. And to give yourself grace too.
Yeah, when you talk about that, I loved, well, I still love the way, usually it's when you're given grace that you really feel the impact of it, and you have such a appreciation for it that you want to, expand that out. You want to give that to anyone. I was given that grace in a time, you just kind of have that instant, it becomes impermeated, and it's like you can feel yourself when you have the, like, you just see this moment. Like, sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, wow, right here, I'm being a real shit. And you just remember that.
Yeah.
Grace,
Yeah. I remember the moment. For me, I was in a shower at a campsite, and I was like, the song came in my head, and I was just overwhelmed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I had never seen it that way. And I don't know why it came into my head like that. It was just like
it's so healing.
Yeah.
That just reminds me, I mean, I have so many situations from my 3-month stint with Teresa. I remember I was so, when I get in these things, I am so vigilant about my spirituality. So she, every week was so impactful. Well, one particular night, and I'm sure I told you about this, one particular night, because I have the most difficulty at night, and my mind was just like not restful. And I just was like, so I went into another room, and I sat down with the intention of beating myself up. Yeah. Like, the amount of shame, embarrassment. Oh, shit. And I remember just sitting down and like, wow, I was revealed. You get guides that come. And I was so shocked because I had this black bird at the time. Now I call it a raven. It could be a crow or a raven, but this black bird came out of my right side, hypothetically, and not hypothetically, but in the ethereal, and it came out, and instead of like, I just instantly I sat down and I was like, go ahead, I did wrong. Mm-hmm. And the bird flipped around and like went on my face. Like, it just like hugged my face. And what I would say is the sensation was, because ravens are, the crows are empathy.
Really?
And so instead of like, I was trying to expand myself and offer empathy to others. And what happened in that meditation was, and I can't even say it was a meditation. I was totally conscious. All I did was sit down, and I had my perception completely flip on me. And like that voice, kind of like your song, you know, that voice was like, empathize with yourself, you know? And the next day I was like, Googling, you know, blackbirds and there it's all about empathy. And it was like, well, yeah, you know, I need to empathize with others. And it changed my heart and my perception in an instant.
Interesting,
you know?
because I don't think that it's common or, you know, for people to think of empathy as with yourself. And that now that you say it that way, when I was a big part of my journey has been documented in my writings, because I'm a songwriter. So, you know, I've got my notes on my computer and I write. And looking back at them, sometimes I see like there's so much about duality and like I think I kind of split myself at a point, and there was like talking about mirrors and that kind of stuff. And I think that that's maybe something that I've felt too, is looking at yourself and understanding yourself, or before that though, really looking at yourself in a dark way, like, but that's, you know, it's interesting to look back and remember feeling like that, because it was different.
Yeah, I mean, to pop out of spirituality for a second and go into psychology, that's kind of how we're wired. Sure. Is that humans, and I'm talking generally, you know, not every single human being, but generally humans are hardwired to take responsibility. I mean, I think that's why on multiple different platforms, from brainwashing to just lightly, you know, religions, or just being raised by your parent, we're hardwired to take responsibility. So spiritually, you just get that even deeper, because all those spiritual teachings are like, it's all on you. You know, it's actually, I mean, that's just where I've been, where it's all your responsibility and everything you do is your karma and consequences, and boom, boom, boom. You get exactly what you put out there. And that weight is very heavy when you do something wrong. You're just like, and I'm hardwired to take that to the extreme, and just like, so the shame and guilt that goes along with that, you know? And so it's incredible. I mean, people say that all the time, love yourself, but it's incredible to have your perception change, like you said, like with a song that just comes to you, because you try so hard. Like, how do I think that way? How can I get there? And it feels like magic. I mean, it feels like a miracle. You know?
Seeing yourself through things like that is kind of a miracle, and it is kind of, you know, you stick to keep. I mean, everybody, that's all we got, and to keep. If you're hardwired to dig and dig, you are going to see yourself through it. But it's amazing that it happens that way. And it's another thing I was going to say is, it's, you know, there's religion or spirituality or whatever. There's like a lot of people, you know, you can be born and they are like, you're this religion, right? Like, we're raised Catholic, our family. And there's a huge difference between assuming and fear-based religion, like, and then really picking yourself apart and being like, okay, what do I believe? And really wanting to know. And it's scary to do that, because it's...
Yeah, and it seems impossible.
It really does seem impossible, sure. Yeah.
Doesn't it? I mean, like when you start that, you're like, who
Yeah,
knows
sure.
like where I got the. But I took a class when one of my college courses was, and a lot of people take this course, but it was focused. I can't remember the title. He titled it magic, spirituality, and religion. But like Scott, I shouldn't name people, but Scott, my brother, he talked about how he took that class at Gonzaga, and it's just basically makes you think about and read all these philosophers about, like where did that thought come from? And I just was, once I started reading these philosophers like Pascal, and I can't even remember all the ones, but it just changed my life. I was like, are you kidding me? You're telling me that my dedication to work, comes from, way back when.
Wow.
So to track, to me, like, instead of like, I don't always track where that thought came from. Now I just know all those thoughts, did not come from you.
Uh-huh.
You were wired. You were trained.
Like, so are you saying wired? Like, okay, so like DNA, like evolution, the evolution of the human, like, is that what you kind of mean? Like hardwired, like
well,
genetically
I would expand it into DNA for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think it's limited. I mean, that's a conversation in its own, but yeah, agreed. I mean, it could come from your DNA. It could come from just one phrase, like, when you talk about work ethic. So why do I have, why do I have this concept of work ethic in a particular way? And, like maybe, my husband doesn't, but we were raised in definitely a very hardcore religious lineage. And he wasn't at all. Like nothing in his family, so it does pose the question, was that a thought form that was passed down, or was it a DNA activation?
And also, like the further you group things together, the more differences you find. But the further you expand the groupings, the more you find like commonalities. Like we all, as a human race, and even further than a human race, like the whole world of everything growing, we all have to move together. So whether it looks like there's differences or not, there's more in common because we all have to move together. Because we're all really one moving thing. It's like a classroom. We're all in a classroom. And we can't move on to the next subject till everybody, or we can't move on to the next grade till everybody understands it. Everybody kind of moves together, but it's sometimes we see the differences when we're looking closely, but we're all like moving together eventually, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's like taking the microscope and zeroing in on. I mean, it's super lovely to find, and I think that's what makes us human too, is to find what's. I was listening to Mooji last night, Mooji, Mooji. I think that's how you say his name. He's such a lovely person, but he was just talking about love in such a. I mean, like he was just. He says. That you have really shifted, he goes, because by how you feel, like, so like when I'm around you, how do I make you feel? He's basically just like, by your presence, by just you being you, you are waking up. He talks a lot about waking up. You're waking up if, by just being in my presence, I can feel it. And so when I was on my spiritual journey, I was always looking for feedback, I'm like, okay, do people, can people tell that I'm this? Can people tell that I'm that? What kind of feedback am I getting? And I just took it too far. Like, I was just like looking in other people for myself,
I think that going too far is a good thing. But that's
that's where you learn your boundaries. Yeah. But like, that's how you learn to go within yourself and not outside yourself,
Because how else can you, unless you just wait for, I don't know. Yeah.
But that's what scares people the most about this journey. It's like they see people like me and they're just like, okay, I don't get where you're going because.
And it doesn't look welcoming. It doesn't look like, why would you? Like, why would you? It's everybody wants to live how they already are.
But haven't you been through enough where I remember going through phases that I would be like, they have this phrase, in spirituality, they go, be careful what you ask for. Because when you do, I think especially in the beginning, so let's say you have some sort of crisis in your life that puts you on this path, right? And you can't stop, right? Because you're going through each aha moment, each perception change, and you're just like cracking your world wide open. And and I just remember having an aha moment going, I wouldn't convince anyone to step on this path.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's gonna, for lack of a better word, it's just gonna fuck up your life. It just is. You're gonna lose friends. You're gonna lose. Yeah.
I mean, I really am so grateful for it now because, I remember when I used to write music and it was I don't know. I wasn't connected to my lyrics like I am now. It's just completely different. And, I can maybe say maturity has something to do with it too, but it's just a completely different way of looking at things. And I've always been a little bit of a fearless kind of person, but there was just nothing. It was almost like there was nothing there. I was okay, so how do you write a song? So what should I write about?
Explain that a little bit more.
There was no crisis in digging in anything to write about. Like, I didn't have that need, is maybe a way to put it. I didn't have that need. I didn't have that. It was more like, okay, how can I write a successful song? I'm a singer. I should be writing songs. Okay, I need to do, okay, what do other songwriters write about? How can I, and or maybe try to write from somebody's perspective, or write about, specific relationships, and then just be like, okay, I'll take it from their perspective. Like, and then when I started writing,
see what you're saying.
You. Then when I started, then I just started. I don't know. It was almost some of it was conscious and some of it wasn't. It just started flowing out of me. Questions and I've said this before, but looking back at some of my writings, they were dark, and that really isn't. In the moment, I didn't feel that way, but maybe that was part of it. And now,
but see, that's what's so lovely about, and psychologists talk about this is, when the truth starts bubbling up, that your life, and so that's a crisis waiting to happen. Because so, like, if let's say nobody left you today, nobody, nothing super happened. I mean, I remember listening to stories of like politicians who lost their jobs because they came out that they were gay or lesbian, So your world gets crushed, but it like even in psychology, we'll talk about how the truth will bubble up, and you're not asking for the truth to bubble up, but it'll show up in your behavior. For you, it's showing up in writing. And it causes, and then you just it causes, turmoil in your life. So like the truth can only be hidden for so long, light will have its day, whether you want it to or not.
Yeah. And now I feel like that's okay. But sometimes you don't feel like it's okay. Like,
no, you want to hide it as much as possible.
And you'd rather not know it sometimes too. And it's because it causes a lot of freaking problems. Truth does. It really does.
Yeah.
Our society is based on things other than truth. I mean, there's truth in everything, but a lot of things we do for, the purposes of money or power, or those kind of things. So when that gets ingrained into us and we start seeing truth as something outside of ourselves, and we, are following each other together, that can get really, really distorted and really have a lot of layers we have to pull back to get to truth. It's a lot of layers.
Well,
and you have to.
I mean, like the scary one of the scary parts is like when you come in from, you come out of that aha moment, that incredible, you think you are living in the ethereal, astral planing, whatever you want to call it. You're another dimension, and you're or it's just something in your brain, however you want to put it. That message comes through, and now the most incredible part of that journey, I think, is that moment where you're like, now this truth, like I can't hide this truth any longer. And you just have to make that truth play out in your 3D, in reality, in 3D world, like for reals. Now I got to tell my mom, my sister, I got to live this. So what am I going to do? Am I going to, hide on some island while I live my truth? Or am I going to stand on my own 2 feet and bump up against next people? And how is this going to play out? That is so scary.
It's cool though, because I don't know. I know that maybe it's because I'm a performer or a singer, but I know that things are meant to be shared with others. Like I feel that there's so much meaning to that. That's
I mean, you can get to that place, I bring this up quite a bit when we're talking. I'm obsessed with the whole conversation of approach and avoidance. It's just another way of categorizing people. Sorry. Psychologically categorize people in an approaching way. So we all avoid things. We all do. Sure. It's human. But there are certain personalities that are sway more into approach, and there's others that sway more into avoidance. And so what you're talking about is just an approach type of behavior, of mentality, where you'll step into those uncomfortable situations because something good's going to come from it. That's more of like an approach perspective.
Yeah, maybe that'd be a really interesting episode we could do, is, getting into that, the psychology of approach and avoidance. And
they've done a ton of research, and then they go into like what like how inspiration falls into that and how intuition plays into that. It's very fascinating.
I read recently somebody said intuition is actually your feelings, and when you become aware of them in a way that you can know things.
Oh.
I thought that was interesting. It was like 2 days ago that I read that. What do you think of that? I thought it was interesting. I think I like it.
Wow, I've never, because, yeah, because we're not necessarily talking about inspiration.
Uh-huh.
The weird, because I kind of want to tap that into like what it really feels like to be, because now I'm kind of going back and forth between intuition and inspiration. But like when I get that, let's say, let's go into the spiritual, let's use spiritual verbiage for a bit. You get that message or a download or something that comes from nowhere. To me, it doesn't feel like anything. Like I don't have any feelings.
Uh-huh.
So I think you're right, because when it finally feels like something, then I would call it.
It's funny right now. I've got
Intuition.
this like vision in my head. Like I see it looks like a 90s like movie, like glitch, like when a person's like glitching from like I don't know, like it feels like we're saying like we're going back and forth between like psychology and spirituality right now. You can tell we're moving through it, because there's been times where you and I are just talking in this crazy spiritual way, and we are so deep in that. Right now I can tell that we're combining the two, and it's funny that we're flipping.
Yeah, combining languages.
I know, yeah.
Well, if I knew more spiritual languages, like astrology, or a lot of people's spiritual language is religion.
Yeah,
so,
I've told a couple people,
but I don't tap
I really
into that.
think it's cool that it was actually one of the first things that I remember you said to me when we started talking was that you think of these things as languages, religions, and
Yeah, I mean, isn't that just the funnest
I thought it was so
thing?
cool. I'm like, yeah, that's like, and it's so cool because you can reach people that way. You can talk to them in whatever way interests them. And what's cool is over time, trying out these different languages or different religions or different whatever, and realizing how much you're saying the same thing.
We're just saying the same thing.
It's so fun. It's like almost like what the human brain's, made to do is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully over this podcast, we can maybe deep dive into some of those things. This is kind of an overview of what we've been through.
Yeah. And, I'm super excited to do this. And I'm hoping that, I started getting video content, just recently, but I am so looking forward to expanding this journey into just making videos.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I am serious about pulling together, an outline or something. I think we should keep that idea of a book.
Yeah, and I'm grateful to have Nick with us. Nick, I know you haven't talked much this episode, but I know you've got a lot of valuable things to bring to the table too. So
I feel like you two are on a roll, so I'm just kind of sitting back and enjoying the conversation. I should have popcorn right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Nick, I haven't met you, but we're friends now, right?
Oh, hell yeah. For sure.
But I love your voice, and I think I feel pretty blessed to have that Lauren found you, and I'm just letting this like have a life of its own, and
yeah.
And I look forward to because I'm hoping that it's just going to add to the journey. Like, I'm hoping that I start setting personal goals, because like one of the challenges for me is like, now I'm curious if I put my voice out there, right? Because this is all about, for me, like this newfound voice, this new confidence.
Right. Kind of a fresh, yeah.
And I'm going to speak my truth, right?
Yeah.
So I want to expand that even further and go, okay, hell, girl, now now it's recorded. Now other people can hear it. You're going to be on video.
Yeah.
So how my life is going to change.
Yeah. Even
being held accountable,
even just us 3 showing up today. It's awesome. And especially in this unique time, while, the world is kind of shut down. Not the world, the United States. I don't know. Different countries are doing different stuff. But, I mean, especially Washington right now. We're on lockdown again. So while everything's kind of different, it's more difficult to find ways to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic, and it's great timing, and I'm just stoked.
I know. So you're gonna be okay with like some of the things I want to do.
What are you talking about? Of course. Am I gonna be okay with some of the things that you want to do? Oh,
yeah. Like, I want to visit. I am serious about visiting certain energy spaces.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked. I love adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it feels like this is a good place to close it down and.
Yeah, welcome to the show, everybody, and we'll just keep going and kind of deep talk about different aspects of things that we like, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was quite poetic.
And we
that
get
you welcomed them at the end. I like that. That was
yeah.
It's just the beginning. Even though it's the end of this, it's the beginning. Welcome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, and you're welcome to change, to go along the journey too.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm gonna tag along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find expansion, and we get to hear Nick's aha moments too.
Awesome. Okay.
Well,
let's close it out.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Nick. And we'll see you guys next time.
And thank you, Sue.
Okay. Aw.
Bye.
Bye.